and what the data is telling us. This is the forecast from the Hurricane Center, and you can see it basically what it's showing us there is all the models take this to the south and all the possible scenarios, that cone of uncertainty. Yes, that is a tropical storm icon. This could become Tropical Storm Arlene as it moves south, but as it moves into the southern Gulf of Mexico, the environmental conditions not quite as favorable for development. A lot of wind shear, so that is going to start to work against this becoming a strong tropical storm or hurricane as it moves further south. There's going to be a disturbance over the mid-Atlantic. A lot of things happening to the north that's going to help to drive this off to the south over the next couple of days. So here's what you need to know. Bottom line, if you're heading down to the Gulf Coast this weekend, right now we've had quite a few scattered showers. It's been breezy, and we've had high rip current risk. That's going to be the big story in the short term, but drifting south by the weekend, greatest impacts will be south of the Alabama Gulf Coast. Let's check out First Alert AccuTrack here at home. Can you find the rain? Well, it is hard to find. You've really got to get into that iPhone there and zoom in on that Fox 6 weather app to find those showers, but there have been some small, tiny pop-ups. One right here, and I've been meaning to check out our camera. We have a camera right there at Oak Grove. Looks like a little shower that's popped up there around Sylacauga. But everything over the past couple of scans here, we're just not seeing a lot of wet weather. Notice back in northern Georgia, see a little bit of wet weather showing up there. Let me take you over to we'll go over to the regional view, and let me back the view out. You see these showers and storms north of Atlanta. Some of the data was picking up on some of this maybe holding together later on tonight. Perhaps if this holds together with this northeast flow, this could drift in across the northeastern part of the area. So we'll be watching around Cherokee County and Etowah County, just giving you the first alert for maybe a few isolated showers happening there. But the wet weather has been very hit or miss, and now we're getting to the point where we could use a little bit of rainfall. But we're going to be talking a lot more about that 7-day forecast coming up. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan also will be checking in with us as we monitor or talk a little bit more about what's ahead for the hurricane season. First day of meteorological summer, more on that. And we'll talk a little bit more about World Reef Awareness Day as we continue right here on First Alert Weather Extra.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Good Day, Alabama.
A new morning comes with preparing right, because while you slept, news broke.
We have new information from that breaking news that happened this morning.
While you head out, the storm we gave you the first alert for is on its way in. And as the key turns the ignition, your shorter route to work is being found.
Avoid 459 southbound completely because of a crash.
A new morning means everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama, always on your side.
The First Alert traffic you need to get you there safe and on time. Tomorrow morning, everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama.
You're late, out the door, and on the go. Don't worry.
Good Day, Alabama continues all morning long.
And wherever you watch, this is what you need to know right now.
More reporters on the streets with more hours of news when you need it. Everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama. Knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Well, as we've been saying, today marks the official start of the Atlantic hurricane season. And of course, for those who live in the southern part of our state, always hoping for a quieter season. Today, the hurricane hunters are out on their first mission, taking off from Biloxi, Mississippi just hours ago and headed right into newly formed Tropical Depression 2 in the Gulf of Mexico. This year could be unpredictable, with El Nino potentially suppressing hurricanes. And we hope that's the case, at least in the Atlantic basin. But the National Hurricane Center director, Michael Brennan, says there will be hurricanes this year regardless.
So we're expecting a busy season. 12 to 17 named storms of at least tropical storm strength or greater, 5 to 9 of those becoming hurricanes, and 1 to 4 of those becoming major hurricanes. So that raises the prospects for significant impacts. So that means that there are going to be hurricanes. A near normal season might sound good in comparison to some of the hurricane seasons we've had in the past few years. Think back to 2020, 2021. But there's nothing good about a near normal hurricane season in terms of activity.
Wise words there. And so we're certainly going to be keeping an eye on things in the months ahead, and hurricane season does run through November 30th. So let's get a look right now at her names we're going to be seeing this season. So if we do in fact have Tropical Depression 2, which is currently spinning in the Gulf of Mexico, if that happens to strengthen into a tropical storm, it will become Arlene. And then we'll see how far we get through these names. Hopefully not very far. That would be great. But here is that official outlook from NOAA, which is forecasting that near average hurricane season. So on average, in a typical season, you get about 14 named storms, and this is just the average. Typically 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes, that's category 3 or higher. So you can see the ranges here being forecasted by the National Hurricane Center do correspond to that. And then Colorado State also issues an official hurricane outlook, and theirs is very similar, going for a near average season with 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. And one reason, as we were mentioning, that there could be less of an impact here in the Atlantic basin this year is due to El Nino. So what exactly is El Nino? Well, in the ocean, parts of the ocean can influence other parts of the world as well. So in the equatorial Pacific, what happens when an El Nino sets up is that sea surface temperatures run warmer than average. So when you get really warm water here in the equatorial Pacific, that can lead to higher temperatures, more moisture content. And actually what happens in the eastern Pacific is that there's less wind shear in the atmosphere. When you have wind shear, that's a difference in wind speed or direction with height. And so if you have less wind shear, hurricanes like that, it helps them to be more organized, versus if you have really violent winds that can rip a storm apart. Versus in the Atlantic basin, what typically happens when El Nino sets up is that there's going to be more wind shear in the atmosphere, and that can lead to less tropical activity because, like I said, hurricanes don't like wind shear. So if you got a lot of it, that's just going to rip a storm apart and prevent it from further organizing and strengthening. So as we look at the climatology for hurricane season, typically early on in June and July, you don't get too much, but you really begin to see things ramping up in August and September, September being the peak of hurricane season. And goodness knows we've had some devastating hurricanes that have made landfall in the U.S. in October as well. Thinking about storms like Michael and Opal. And then as you get into November, that does begin to go down a little bit. So the peak of hurricane season is in September, but a lot of times what can happen earlier in the season, as we're seeing right now, is you can get what are known as homegrown storms in the Gulf. We call it homegrown because the Gulf is right next door, right? Versus you've seen a system coming off of the west coast of Africa and making its way westward across the Atlantic basin. So oftentimes you'll see more of that development as you get closer to the peak of hurricane season. That's when you're getting a lot of that warmer water that is beginning to develop in the ocean. And so that really helps to fuel further development. So if you don't have it already, make sure you download that WBRC First Alert weather app. This is going to be great to keep up with the tropics as we go into hurricane season. And of course, always good too for those little pop-up summertime thunderstorms. But we've been talking about here in central Alabama. Let's turn to Tania now for an update out of Europe.
All right, Lauren, the story of a sunken tourist charter in an Italian lake has taken a surprising turn. The boat actually sank when it was hit by a waterspout. That was on Sunday in Italy's Lake Maggiore. 23 people were on board and 4 of them died. It now turns out that all the passengers on the ship were connected to the Italian and Israeli intelligence and defense communities. Barbie Lazzanodo tells us more.
A deadly accident turns mysterious. 4 people were killed, including 2 Italian intelligence officers and a retired Israeli defense official, when a chartered houseboat sank in a sudden storm on Lake Maggiore Sunday. The captain said a waterspout appeared in a sudden storm. The Italian captain's Russian girlfriend also died. The Guduria boat was listed on a boat chartering website for €2,000 a day, with an advertised maximum capacity of 15 passengers. But on the fatal Sunday, there were 21 passengers plus 2 crew members on board. All passengers in some way tied to Italian and Israeli intelligence work, the prosecutor's office said. The survivors said they were celebrating a birthday. Italians Tiziana Barnobi and Claudio Alonzi were active Secret Service agents, the Italian government confirmed. The Israeli citizen Erez Shimoni was retired. Israel's Prime Minister's office called him a dear friend to the country's security forces. The Italian prosecutor said passengers are not under investigation and would not comment on what they might have been doing on the boat. The captain is under investigation for culpable manslaughter. Efforts to salvage the boat are being closely watched by Italian security officials and should provide more clues to the mysterious Sunday outing turned deadly. Barbie Lazzanodo, CNN, Rome.
Well, the first day of June brings an important reminder for us to do our part to save our oceans. That's because today is World Reef Awareness Day. Oceans cover 70% of the Earth's surface and produce more than half of the world's oxygen. In recent years, the world's reefs have been in decline due to coral bleaching. In Australia, the Great Barrier Reef has decreased by 40%. In the Florida Keys and the Caribbean, the decline is even worse. Get this, around 90%. World Reef Awareness Day reminds us what we can do to help. 2 simple changes involve using reef-safe sunscreen at the beach and eliminating single-use plastic from your daily lifestyle. Well, coming up on First Alert Weather Extra, we check back in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt for a look at the 7-day forecast, and I'll take you beyond that well into June. We'll be right back.
If your bath looks like this or this, you know it's time for a replacement. Hey everybody, Joe here with BJ Worzen, owner of West Shore Home, to talk about how he's making sure you get the best possible value on your shower or bath replacement. BJ.
That's right, Joe. Now more than ever, I want to make sure people are getting the most for their money. And there's a few ways we're doing that. First, we have hundreds of styles and options for your bath remodel, so you can make sure you're getting exactly what you want. Second, as you know, we only use employee installers, never subcontractors. So our crew is going to follow a process to make sure everything is installed properly. And then finally, a few days after the job's done, we're going to give you a call and make sure you're 100% completely satisfied with that experience.
Amazing, because a lot of contractors will show up and the second they're done, the customer's on their own. You're saying West Shore is there every step of the way, even following up after the project's done.
You got that right, and it's all backed by our online reviews. Right now, we have over 26,000 5-star reviews.
That just shows how much you truly care about your customers. Now, how about somebody who needs that shower right now but's been putting it off because of cost? How can you help them?
So we're making bath remodel affordable for almost any budget. For a limited time, you can get your shower or bath remodeled for only $99 a month. And for anyone who's watching this commercial right now, if you call in and mention it, we're going to throw in free installation as well.
You're saying you'll do the entire project from tear out to complete installation for as low as $99 a month.
That's right. Let's take a look at the project. Here's a time-lapse video of one of our installations. You saw there, we started in the morning, removed everything down to the studs, and put in a new shower all in the same day. Here's some more. Easy low-step showers, deep soaking tubs, beautiful wall styles, and modern accessories. We can do jobs like these for as low as $99 a month.
BJ, thanks so much. Folks, West Shore Home is making shower and bath remodeling more affordable than ever. Call now and take advantage of this extended offer. Get your new shower or bath for as low as $99 a month. And you heard BJ, if you call in now, he's going to do free installation on that project as well. Call the experts at West Shore Home now.
Welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt here. Want to go over to our graphics. You can see a live look from Oak Grove. We've had a shower there that was in the Oak Grove area, but now seeing some sunshine. So that's a live look right there of what's going on. We have Tropical Depression number 2 that's out over the northern Gulf, expected to move south, and it may become, next time we check in tonight, it's probably going to be Tropical Storm Arlene. But as this moves into the southern Gulf of Mexico, we're expecting this to weaken, move into an environment that with more wind shear won't be quite as favorable for development. But we're expecting it to move south. It's not moving a whole lot right now, but we're seeing there's going to be high pressure aloft that builds in across the Midwestern states. We're seeing a trough digging in across the Mid-Atlantic region. A lot of that is going to kind of force a lot of this activity south. In fact, it's probably going to send a front our way by early next week that could bring a reduction in the humidity values across Alabama. Here's the 7-day forecast, and I just wanted to bring this up here quickly just to show you we have some of the data that shows where this could go. And again, I was mentioning to the north what's going on here across the Mid-Atlantic. We'll see a broad upper air ridge that builds across the Midwest and then across the New England states here. We're going to see a big trough dig in. We've been dealing with below average temperatures in parts of New England. As that trough digs in, all this weather we've been dealing with here, at least the air mass is currently in place, is going to get pressed a bit further southward. We could see, I mentioned, a front that slides in from the north to northeast direction by early next week, and that could bring, again, a bit of a drop in the muggy levels. But also, we bumped the rain chance up on Sunday because we think we could see more scattered showers and storms. But that's also that general pattern shift is why we're expecting the system. It's, you get these tropical systems out there that kind of like a spinning top, so that little bit of influence is going to help to drive this further south. So that's why we think it's going to pull away from the Gulf Coast. And what you need to know here is if you are heading down to the Alabama Gulf Coast for the weekend, this will be moving away. And the National Weather Service rip current forecast I was checking out earlier today actually showed some improvements there for Orange Beach and Gulf Shores over the next couple of days. So we'll see those conditions improve. Not a lot of rain again on radar right now. Things are going to stay pretty quiet. Maybe an isolated shower on the map I mentioned. There's a little bit of wet weather you see back in here to the north and east. A couple of showers may hang on from that and reach us in Cherokee and Etowah County, so giving you the first alert for overnight, maybe a brief shower, but that's about it. Looks like overnight tonight we'll have that small chance, and then tomorrow most of the day's dry, and then as we heat up again, 3 o'clock, you can see a pretty good coverage. And once again, kind of like today, we saw most of the development back off to the west. Areas north and west will have a slightly greater chance for showers and storms again. Notice the wind tomorrow out of the northeast, so that flow starting to kick in. That's going to drive some of that deeper moisture back into the west, and that's why we're seeing a more favorable environment there for some of those pop-up showers and storms late in the day, and then tomorrow night all that wet weather dissipating. But for the unofficial, I guess you could call it, start of summer, coming off of the Memorial Day weekend and now meteorological summertime as we call it. You can see those temperatures for the weekend close to 90 degrees, and it looks like next week a very seasonal setup there for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Just be on the lookout. That typical afternoon pop-up. I'd certainly plan on watering. We don't see any widespread rainfall anytime soon, but we'll be keeping a watch each afternoon as we reach the peak heating, those short-lived pop-up showers and perhaps a few thunderstorms. I want to go back to meteorologist Lauren Linehan. And Lauren, we're talking a lot about hurricane season here. It looks like with respect to the season, we're going to have, it looks like a near average season at least is being forecast, but as always, there can be surprises.
Yeah, and Wes, we always say it only takes one storm to cause issues, and we certainly saw that last year, which was relatively quiet, and then you had Hurricane Ian, which devastated Southwest Florida. Now, as we turn to our temperature outlook here at home over the next 6 to 10 days, believe it or not, if you look up the Mid-Atlantic into the Northeast and even into parts of the Southeast, it looks like we could be seeing the possibility of below average temperatures briefly. It's not going to stay that way. Heads up, spoiler alert. But what we would see is the possibility next week of what we call a little backdoor cold front coming through. Call it that because it comes through the back door, the northeast versus the northwest or west, which is where we typically see cold fronts come through. And I mean, it's the summer. It's not going to be that much cooler, but maybe instead of temperatures being mid 80s, they could be in the low 80s at some point. But it's not a guarantee. So as we look at those future high temperatures, this is looking from next Wednesday, June 7th through Friday, June 16th. You can see that possibility as we get maybe into late next week for cooler than average temperatures. Our average high as we start off June is in the mid 80s. So like I said, maybe low 80s versus mid 80s, but you see that heat builds back in, and yes, it is suggesting maybe as we get into the middle of June, we could really be seeing some heat. I'm not telling you we're going to hit the triple digits just yet. I don't necessarily buy it. But hey, crazier things have happened here in Alabama. Now, what about those low temperatures? Well, a lot of times too, as we get into the summer months, that humidity increases, and that's going to bring up those morning lows as well. But you see, hey, maybe the possibility of 50s or at least low 60s in the forecast as we get into late next week before we see that heat building back in again. So, you know, this time of the year, this stuff ain't going to last very long, right? Because summer is convinced it's going to win out. But it does look like we would have just kind of typical precipitation for this time of the year as we go into the first couple of weeks of June. So let's look at what we could be dealing with in terms of our future casts here. So here we are next Friday, June 9th. I mentioned that backdoor cold front. We have a little trough that's likely going to be setting up across the northeast and the mid-Atlantic, and so that digs down here. The possibility of maybe some rain across South Alabama, but generally showing us going into next weekend looking fairly dry. And then eventually, as we get into the week of June 12th, showing the possibility of maybe some scattered showers and storms, a more active pattern in the forecast. And then once that scoots on out of here, maybe the possibility of once we see that dip in the jet stream, that cooler air briefly coming in, that we could eventually see the possibility of some heat back in the forecast. But coming up on First Alert Weather Extra, we'll have a final look at that 7-day. We'll be right back.
We heard the first alert. Mom says we have to go. She says I don't have time to grab any more toys.
Need to be in your tornado safe place. Get there right now as you have.
We have to get to our safe place because sometimes when you hear the siren, it's too late. That's why she says knowing first is everything.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team always on your side.
The first alert is more than a warning. It's a promise. A promise to get you out of harm's way with plenty of time to spare. 4 walls and a roof can be replaced. Lives can't. That's why knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. A beloved beagle and former high school therapy dog is now back home. It eventually had been out in the woods with its owner after spending days lost out there. Gabrielle Carasasilo has the unique story of how he was found.
This is Kobe, Chrissy Luongo's 9-year-old beagle.
He had this personality where he was very comforting to people.
The former Smithfield High School therapy dog spent most of last week missing after wandering away through the woods behind her Scituate home.
I just felt, he must be out there so helpless.
Because he suffers from epilepsy, the race to find him was made even more urgent.
My biggest fear was that he was in the middle of a field, just incapable of moving.
After days of searching, she enlisted the help of pack leader Pet Trackers.
We use scent-specific canines to track down missing pets.
Their scent-sniffing dogs narrowed the search down to one area. And when they went to put up trail cameras to help find Kobe,
we noticed Kobe was belly up in the field, almost disguising himself as a rock. So we ran right over, and Kobe was just ecstatic, and we were all just so overcome with emotion. Happy, sad, just relieved. Let's go. Let's get home. And felt a great sense of relief just to know he was alive.
Dexter the hero! Now home and doing well, Kobe got to meet Dexter, one of the dogs that helped trace his scent and lead to his rescue.
It was a miracle to me.
It's awesome. It's the best feeling, you know. That's why we do what we do, is to see that at the end.
Oh, we love to see that. And hopefully you can catch us tonight back here on First Alert Weather Extra with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt for an update on the forecast and an update on Tropical Depression 2. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Have a safe and happy Thursday evening.